Welcome, and on today's show I get to show you a watch I had built for me. But first, yes, today's shot comes from Watch and Carry. It's another amazing shot of one of his awesome Casios, the AE 1300. It's paired up with a rubber strap from Uncle Seiko and a beautiful bull bar from J's and K's. This dude sure does know how to frame a photo, and I'm truly grateful for you tagging me in, my friend. If you'd like to be on the next Casio Corner, all you gotta do, find me on Instagram here and tag me in on one of your Casio posts. Who knows? Next time, the star of the show could be you. Yes, I've been so excited to make this show.
What's your watch out?
Well, I am wearing a very new acquisition of mine, a now discontinued Casio, the MTP-4700. This world timer has a little look of a Breitling Aerospace, don't you think? It's got the widest lugs ever at I think 24 mil, but it's a really nice bracelet. It has a bi-directional friction bezel, and that friction bezel is the best one I've twisted. What a beautiful Annie Digi Casio stunner. Right, so one of my all-time favourite watches is the Seiko 62 Mass, Seiko's very first dive watch that came out in 1965. Now, to find one of those vintage watches is very hard in itself, and if you do find one, you're probably going to pay around £2,000, £3,000, £4,000, £5,000, £6,000, depending on how much wear it has on it. So I was so excited when Seiko reissued the 62 Mass in these SPB dive watches. Beautiful, professional Prospex divers with the look of a 62 Mass, housed with modern technology. Thanks to Francis & Gay Jewelers, I was lucky enough to have one of these on the show and review. Much that I absolutely loved the watch, something in me just said,
I'm not sure whether you should buy it.
Yeah, there was a few niggles for me. One, the bracelet didn't sit well in the case. The end links just looked out of shape to that iconic 62 Mass case. And there was also a big rattle in there. Now, your bracelet should not be rattling if the watch costs £1,100. Now, that beautiful sunburst grey dial, the SPB143, was the one I would choose, and you can only get that watch with the bracelet. The other thing was the engine inside. So there was an in-house 6R35, 24 joules with a 70-hour power reserve, but it's only 3 hertz. That means the seconds hand only ticks at 21,600 beats per hour. Now, that's the same as my SKX, as well as any of the engines in Seiko 5 watches. It's the 7S26. That seconds hand sweeping the same as one of those budget Seikos, but with a premium £1,100 price tag.
Yeah.
Those were the main niggles, but I did still love it. Anyway, scrolling through Instagram one day, good friend of the show, Average Joe Watch Reviews, had just had a watch made for him. It was a Seiko, but it was built like a Tudor Black Bay. I really did like that. So I clicked on the account that made the watch for Average Joe, Case and Dial. Scrolling through his Instagram account, I saw a 62 Mass build. Yes, not a mod, lots of different components put together to make a 62 Mass-alike watch. So we got on first name terms, Brandon, and I said, Brandon, I would love to have you make one of these 62 Mass builds for me, and I'll showcase it on the channel. He said yes. And in a couple of months' time, I had a beautiful 62 Mass build Seiko in the post. And I don't think I've been that excited about a watch in a long time. Now, with buying all the components, plus the little bit of money for the man-hours Brandon puts into the watch, the price of this 62 Mass was half the price of the SPB143. You're interested now, aren't you? Are you Seiko ready? Let's go! And so here it is, my Seiko 62 Mass build. And look at it, isn't it beautiful? I'm extremely happy with what Brandon's done here. It's everything I imagined and hoped it would look like, and we can all see he's done a magnificent job. It's got the looks of that 62 Mass, and as you can see, it has an SPB143 original Seiko dial. Beautiful screw down chunky crown at 3 o'clock. Screw down case back. This watch does what it says. It has 200 meters of water resistance, fully stainless steel case, brushed on the top, polished on the sides. You can see that chunky coin edge crown has a Seiko logo S on it, something the SPB143 doesn't have. The bezel looks superb, the dial, the handset, everything looks brilliant.
Okay, hold it.
Let's quickly go through how this watch was made.
Right, first of all, Brandon takes his MH35 and regulates it in 3 positions. Then he gives it a good clean. Then he attaches the handset before giving them a good clean and puts it to one side. Time for the case to get a good cleaning, and so with the chapter ring. Then the chapter ring and the crystal gasket is set into the case. The crystal is cleaned with 97 isopropyl alcohol. Then it's pressed with the thumbs to see if there's a good fit. Then, using crystal dye, he puts the crystal back on the case and uses a pressing machine, pressing it in different positions to make sure there's an even amount of dye around the case. Now it's time to get the click spring and lube, his words, the bezel gasket, and install it to the bezel. Next up, the movement is then set into the case to see if there's a good snug fit, then attaching the crown. The stem comes really long and it has to be cut to get the perfect fit. Once he's got the perfect fit with the crown, he takes it back out, takes the engine out, lubes up the case back gasket, and then pressure tests it to 20 atmoses. If he sees no bubbles coming off the case, it's watertight. Takes it out, gives it a good dry in, and then it's time to marry the engine to the case one final time. The last thing is attaching the bezel insert.
Very meticulous stuff, something I don't think I'd have the patience to do myself, but Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, you've got yourself a 62 mass build. So as you can see, there are quite a few components there. The NH35 movement, the reholt, the case back, the crown and stem, the domed sapphire crystal, and the coin edge bezel all came from a company called Namoki. The aluminium bezel insert came from Crystal Times. What I was impressed about, that there's a company called Toki Lab where you can buy original SPB143 dials. Quick spec check. Okay, so this Namoki case is 41 mils in diameter. Without the domed crystal and the case back, it's 11.2 mil thick. However, with the crystal and the screw-in case back, the watch has a thickness of 14.5. It's 49.5 millimeters lug to lug, and it has a very strapaholic lug width of 20 millimeters. So yeah, the sizes are a little bit different to the SPB143. That had a 40.5 millimeter case, a thickness of 13.5, 47.5 lug to lug, but will I feel a difference on the wrist? Okay, so onto that bezel. Beautiful coin edge. I wanted an aluminium insert. I could have had ceramic, but I'm not a massive fan of ceramic. We also have an awesome little loom pip that comes out from the insert. It's 120 clicks, unidirectional, and I think it's about time we saw Kurt Santana. Welcome to the World Bezeling Federation, dedicated to finding the best bezel on a watch. 3 rounds, the look, the grip, and the fidgetability. Let's get a bezeling. First the look, and this is a very attractive bezel. Coin edge with a retro aluminum insert. This thing wants to be twisted. Our referee scores the look. Very nice. And onto the grip, the purchase. How much do I have to twist before I hit the first ratchet? It's 120 click, and it is smooth. Smoother than my 14 pairs of silk pajamas. Referee scores. And onto the fidgetability. Do I want to twist this bezel morning, noon, and night? Referee scores and puts this 62 mass build on the leaderboard for 2021. I'll see you next time, bezel lovers. Let's get a listen to the bezel. Yeah, it's a lovely smooth bezel, and it's the best Seiko bezel I have in my collection now. I'd say that the SPB143 was slightly better in its ratcheting, and I've got to admit, I do love the brushed stainless steel look of it. That being said, it's a beauty. Okay, onto the face. Dial time. So yeah, it's an SPB143 dial. And it's exactly the same sort of look as the 62 mass. This is why I wanted it. It's a fantastic sunburst. Not too blingy, but I am a huge fan of it. Also, check out that reholt or chapter ring. It's definitely thicker than the SPB143s, and I love the reflections it gives off of the dial. Really cool look. So we've got minute markers along the outside of the dial, applied trapezoids for the hours, rectangles at 6, 9, and 12. We have the double rectangles, great legibility, framed in silver, they look magnificent.
Filled with Seiko's LumaBrite technology.
At the 3 o'clock you see we have a date window. The date wheel is white. It doesn't affect the balance on the dial. The 62 mass had a date complication, so I'm pretty happy with it. Just below the 12 marker we have printed Seiko, and below the hand stack we have that Prospex logo, then automatic and divers 200 meters. So not a lot of text, not too busy, just the way I like it.
Sorry to bother you. Could you just click that like button, please? It really helps the channel. Thank you.
Okay, so we got loom on the hands, loom on the applied indices, loom pip on the bezel insert. Let's see how it glows. So yes, looks fantastic, doesn't it?
Seiko LumaBrite technology come to papa.
So inside this puppy, as we said, is the Seiko NH35, 41 hours power reserve, 24 joules, accuracy of -20 to +40 seconds a day. The 6R35 and the SPB143 is exactly the same movement, but with 30 more hours of power reserve. I'm not fussed about power reserve. I don't know about you. I have loads of watches. Even if I had a watch with 150 hours of power reserve, it'll still run down and I'll still have to wind it and change the time. It beats at 21,600 beats per hour, just like the 6R35, and I am totally fine with that.
Hello.
Now it's the best time of the show. Let's dress this puppy up. Yeah, so I got together a few straps that I'll probably be using quite often on this amazing watch. So partnering up my beautiful watch today, first, a Seiko silicone strap. Yes, I bought this for my Seiko Mini Turtle. I think this will work very well with this watch. It's black, nothing crazy, but it's gonna add to that professionalism, you know? Next strap is by a company called Nato Straps. Make really nice NATOs for us small wristers. Single pass NATO, beautiful stitching. This is a lovely blue. I'm a bit of a sucker for blue, and blue with this grey dial I think it's going to go really well. Next up, a little bit of leather. Yes, why not have a nice distressed leather strap? This is from my Squale 1521. I know everyone says leather on a dive watch, but a good old worn-in leather strap doesn't have to look good on a vintage-inspired watch. Then we have a few straps from an incredible brand called Haverston. I've talked about them many times before. Military-inspired NATO straps that if you have a military watch, you should be partnering it with nothing less. Now, yes, okay, this is not a military watch, but they've got this incredible Gen 1 NATO with the reinforced holes in grey to go with the case and the dial. I think it's going to work awesome. And this is the second parade NATO strap I've had of theirs. Hands down, one of the most comfortable straps on my wrist. Single pass, floating keeper, amazing hardware on both of these straps. That deep ocean blue is going to work really well also, isn't it? And finally, if I was going to have a 62 mass watch, I most probably will keep it on a beautiful Tropic strap. Well, no one makes Seiko aftermarket straps quite like Uncle Seiko, and I've got one of their absolutely incredible Tropic straps to try on this beauty. Are you ready? Let the fashion show commence.
I can't get you out of my mind. They're rolling the dice. I can't get you out of my mind. All of the time. Oh, 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 oh,
All incredible looks, aren't they? This watch is definitely a strapaholic. Yeah, on my 6.5-inch wrist, and I feel it fits perfectly. I know the case is slightly bigger than the SPB143, but I honestly don't feel it or see it. I'm absolutely over the moon with this build, and honestly, after opening the box and putting it on my wrist, it made me think, I don't think I want another dive watch.
Only for a couple of minutes, but still, you know, I mean...
Brandon at Case and Dial absolutely nailed this, didn't he? And I wholeheartedly recommend him to you guys all over the world. In the description below, you'll see a link to his Instagram page. Give him a heads up. He's a great guy to chat to. Take a look at his other builds and you won't regret having one made with him. From me, the Mad Watch Collector, I'll see you in a tick, 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 a tick.
every minute.